So if you're watching this video on the moment of release, then just a few hours prior, my AR video came out. These are the perks that I recommended, but before you go off and select those, I'd highly recommend checking out that video below. It has a much more expanded perspective on why I picked these perks, what your options are, and my overall opinion on this weapon set itself. And that's also where I covered the other weapons in this set. This is more of a part 2 to the assault weapon than it is a pure guide for the shotgun. That being said, I will say that this weapon set absolutely surprised me. It is way better than I thought it was, and I'm just gonna, like I said, leave most of those details on the assault weapon video, and let's get straight into the shotgun. This might be, I don't want to be that YouTuber that claims this, that's why it's not in the title, but this might be one of the best shotguns in the entire game. I, multiple occasions, left a Mist monster at just a sliver of health with my party of friends when just shooting it once. And it shoots in bursts of 2, so, I mean, technically you're never shooting it just once, but boom was more than enough damage. A couple of crits brings it like 500,000 damage sometimes. It is amazing how strong this weapon is. I got lucky, I think, because the options for this 6th perk are interesting. So, stunning or knocking back my enemy reduces my health by that amount, deals that much damage to that big of a radius, and it only happens every 6 seconds. You can see the numbers on screen. What that means in the main game, and why I'm not saying the numbers, is because when you're out there fighting, all you're going to see is your health going down, enemies taking extra damage because of it, and there's going to be a cooldown so you don't kill yourself instantly. Now, that 12.5% that you lose is based on your current health, so you will lose less and less and less and less actual HP every single time, so it's actually quite difficult to kill yourself using this set. That being said, because it's a shotgun loadout, I would highly recommend using Blast from the Past. That's what I've been using in all of the gameplay that you've seen, and is definitely my recommendation because you are going to need a lot of health to keep yourself alive. And I also recommend Blast from the Past purely because of Iza. Her 33 armor is super important. When you have so low health, you're going to need the armor to keep you alive because that will keep you going for another day. But that's just sort of my recommendation. You can use whatever loadout you want. You're definitely going to want a shotgun loadout if you're going to be using a shotgun anyway. And let's get into these perks. So going with the 6th perk, as I was talking about earlier, stunning or knocking back an enemy, I think is probably like the luckiest thing I could have gotten. Reloading is nice because it triggers it automatically and then your next shot kind of happens. But while you're firing into a crowd of enemies, you kind of want that explosion to just happen, especially with a shotgun when they're right up in your face. You want them to just sort of affect the enemies around them and then get knocked back. There were multiple times where I was shooting into a crowd of enemies, and this impact from this shotgun took a fatty up off the ground and flying backwards. And you can do that to a crowd of enemies, and it is highly effective. And when you do that, it does tons of extra damage, and it lowers your health when it does so, which only increases the damage because of this 5th perk down here. That 80% bonus damage is huge. That is almost double. I mean, if you're doing 100 damage, now you're doing 180 damage. Scale that up to the thousands, and we're doing 250,000 in a hit, and it is amazing. Now, if you want to do more than 250,000, you're going to want crit rating, crit damage. Now, this is an interesting suggestion because typically crit rating, crit damage is not my recommendation for shotguns, seeing as you don't fire that many bullets, but the fire rate on this is fairly slow, but you are firing 2 shots at once, so you're basically getting 2 chances for a 43% chance, which is kind of like a, I'm not going to do the math, but it's kind of like an 86 and 200 as I do the math, so it's not like you have a higher chance to crit, you just have more opportunities per burst, and because it shoots twice, you know, it just sort of reduces that margin of error, and it hits like a truck. Like I mentioned, it feels really good to be using this in battle. It's not that accurate, but up close, it's quite the powerhouse. Now, as I said in the AR video, I would suggest if you have this 6th perk, maybe trying out Impact. I'm not sure if that'll increase the chances of this getting triggered, but this really does send enemies flying. Part of the Black Metal set's tokens, part of what's special about them is their high impact across the board. On the AR and the shotgun, that is definitely something that's nice. I'm not a person who's ever really been into impact, but I'm telling you, picking up fatties and sending them flying really made me feel good today and has sort of changed my mind. But as for this 5th perk, I don't think you want to change that. The element, you can do physical or fire. I'm going to link my video below on on the AR, obviously, where I talk more in depth on this, and my element video to sort of give you a better idea for what you want to do. The fire is going to look badass because this thing looks like it's made to be on fire, or physical, which I think is, personally, I think it's best all around, and that seemed to do really, really well for me today. I do reload because I like to just stay in the action. However, with a shotgun, maybe fire rate is what you'd want to do. This isn't the fastest firing gun as is, and the reload is kind of long. 75% brings it down to 1.5, so it's pretty slow even with the reload perk, so you're going to want to make a judgment call, although I know many of you are going to want to go for that crit damage, because this has a base 15% crit chance, which means you're already up to 43%, which means you are very, very close to half of your shots critting, so double crit damage is absolutely a good way to go. That said, you will be a bit clunkier because you're going to be giving up your reload speed and your fire rate, so that's just something that you're going to want to be careful about. That said, I mean, crit rate and crit damage seems to be the way to go on this one. It's a fantastic weapon, and as I said, I was blown away by how powerful it was. The only reservation I have about this, honestly, the only reservation I have about this is the fact that its durability seems to be a little lackluster. I don't know exactly what the damage per bullet is to your durability, but this gun right here was after like 1 or 2 games, it went down to 156 durability, and that was quite disheartening. Did that happen twice? Oh, I stopped at 156 because, yeah, I don't know. That was like 1 or 2 games, and I almost lost half the gun. So something to be careful of if you don't have a ton of oxidized mineral powder. I always say Sunbeam on all of these. I would not recommend making this obsidian, but what I would recommend you do is click subscribe, use code Mista in the item shop, and like the video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Check out the AR video if you haven't. Have fun using this set. Go get some candies. This is one of my favorite sets of all time. I won't be making a video on the sniper or spear as of now because they don't seem very good at all. I don't want to give you guys tutorials unless the weapon's actually worth using or talked about heavily. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.